Well, first of all, congratulations on just being a director. That's that's got to be the epitome of jobs in Hollywood. Did you always want to direct?
Absolutely not. I didn't always want to direct. My background is in architecture. So I thought I was
Wow.
going to be an architect. I went to, both my undergraduate and master's degrees are both in architecture. And architecture led me, I went to graduate school at UC Berkeley, which is in the Northern California area. And that had sort of access to sort of Silicon Valley.
Hmm.
And through I'll make the story very short, but I ended up getting an internship at the Lucas companies.
Oh, wow.
And so I started my career in visual effects, working on films like Mummy, episode one, episode two, Jurassic Park 3. Went over and did Matrix 2 and 3, came down to LA. And so my universe was architecture and then visual effects, and then visual effects led me into directing.
Building universes
Yes,
and things
yes.
like that. Boy, that's working up in Marin County is must be a joy as well.
It was a rude awakening to the world of film. I'm from Atlanta, Georgia, and movies were something that you went to see. They weren't something that you worked on. And so, that was the first time I really thought that I had access to maybe take a crack at it.
Oh,
Because
wonderful.
it's not like you don't have access. You're just not aware
Yeah.
that that job exists, so to speak.
Now, state of consciousness. I mean, you're working with Emil Hirsch and just a group of just wonderful talent. Was the audition process grueling?
The audition process was mainly through self-tapes.
Mhm.
So it wasn't grueling in the traditional way of just people coming in the door over and over again, but it was very difficult to find someone that had the chemistry. Tatiana Nardone, who plays the Emil Hirsch's love interest.
Mhm.
We wanted to make sure that we got that right, so the chemistry was important. And she just in her audition, she just kind of knocked it out of the park. She is Italian and Irish,
Mhm.
but could do a Southern accent for some reason. We asked her, "How do you do that?" She just goes, "Well, I'm really just doing Matthew McConaughey."
Yeah.
But coming out of her mouth, it sounded perfect, and so she was a great choice. But
Yeah.
yeah,
I
the
mean,
entire casting process was
everybody in this film flowed so beautifully together. I mean, it was like they were old friends.
Yeah, I mean, I think we were very fortunate, and I think one of the things that made that happen a bit was just the fact that everyone had to be a little bit closer together because we shot the film kind of at the tail end of COVID. So we had kind of a bubble established. So I think people were eating together and hanging out and all that sort of stuff, and I think that definitely helped with the camaraderie of the film.
What do you think audiences are going to take away from watching this lovely film?
I think audiences are going to enjoy sort of unraveling the puzzle. I mean, I always wanted to make a movie that I would want to see. And these sort of psychological thrillers where you don't know what's happening and you're trying to figure out what is real and what's manufactured are always a lot of fun. I kind of have always gravitated toward those sort of like puzzle movies or time travel movies or things like that. We're trying to figure it out. And so I think, people are going to take away, unraveling this puzzle, having a good time, having a little bit of action and adventure, and trying to see um, the narrative isn't directly chronological. So they're trying to put it back together. And when we get to the end of the film, it all kind of makes sense. And I think it's pretty rewarding for the audience.
Well, you're dealing with what's going on in Emil's mind during all of this, and yeah, I can't see you doing this as a linear piece. It has to be nonlinear because that's how his mind is working.
Exactly. And that's kind of the reason for that. He's popping in and out of different times and different periods and where is he? And I think that's always fun. I mean, one of the movies I worked on when I was in visual effects was Matrix 2 and Matrix 3 a bit. And they kind of are famous for that sort of like, two universes, two different realities. And so there's a little bit of a nod to some of those ideas in this. And those movies are fun, and I liked watching those movies. I liked working on those movies, and so I wanted to put an element of that in this film.
Yeah, I was thinking about the 13th floor, things like that,
Yep.
and again, yeah, time travel enters into it. But I love the fact that you've also added um, a bit of humor into this as well, because it really needs to, have that human element.
Yeah, I mean, I think a film needs to be well-rounded
Mhm.
in order to really engage people. I mean, some of my favorite movies, Ocean's 11, things like that. It's not just a heist movie. It's a heist movie with a love story. It's a heist movie with a love story with, a comedy mixed in. And so I think, the more facets you can put on a movie, the more enjoyable it'll be for the audience. So I think we really tried to keep it from being one note.
Now, as a director, I mean, you've been on many, many sets. The Rookie comes to mind, Quantum Leap, just recently, and going from television to motion pictures. Those are two different muscles for a director.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, I think the skill in television is, sort of jumping onto a moving ship, right? It's season three, right? The actors all know each other, and you've got to come in and you've got to create this episode which sort of fits in the family of all the episodes that we've seen before. And you've got to do it really quick,
Yeah.
right? There's a pace to television which is unparalleled in any other sort of media. And so, but I think that experience really helped me do this film because, we didn't really have um, sort of an excess amount of time, and also being able to think on your feet, which you have to do in television because no matter what, you got to shoot all the stuff you need that day. So, there were some moments where we had to kind of think on the fly. The story that comes to mind was there's a moment where a police officer comes to check on the house, right? And he talks to Tatiana, and we had a police car, but like I said, we shot this movie in Italy and Guatemala, and in some of those places, police cars look a little different, right? So the car that showed up was this subcompact looking thing, and they were putting the police stickers on it. I was like, no, no, no. This guy's got the cop has like, he's a ranger, he's got a cowboy hat. I'm like, I can't put him in this thing. And so I just yelled to the crew, who has a pickup truck? Seven people raised their hands. All right, go get your truck, bring it over here, put the red and blue lights on top of it. Now we have a cop car, right? Those are the type of decisions that are going to be better for the film. And you have to be able to make an executive decision quickly. And I learned a lot of those skills.
But isn't
And
that why you fall in love with directing? Is because of moments like that where you have to think, "Wow, I've got to fix this right away."
yeah, I'm not sure I love those times, right? If I'm being honest, I'm not sure that's what I like the most, but I think having the ability to not get flustered and just work the problem out, you know, um, is is usually it usually always turns out for the best, right? There's some times where you have to fix the problem, right? But, in that case, I think the pickup truck ended up being a better choice than any sort of car, right?
Yeah.
Because we're playing this in southern Texas and all that sort of stuff, and it sort of fits in better.
I also want to give you a nod for the score. Wow, it's got a beautiful, beautiful soundtrack.
Yeah, Yvonne did a really good job with that. I hadn't met him before, and we had kind of a really good back and forth, and I think he just got the movie,
Yeah.
and he was able to sort of create a score that not only, matched the imagery, but also helped propel it in a lot of times. You know what I mean? Like it's always great when, there's a lot of the Nolan films, a lot of Scorsese's films,
Yeah.
the score is like a character. And
Yeah.
I think that happened in this movie as well.
Yeah, it's perfectly underscoring the action, but not overtaking what's going on the screen. So it's just beautifully done.
Yeah, he'll be very, I will tell him and he'll be very pleased to hear that Tony said that.
Somebody noticed. In our final moments, we have what's up next for you? What are you involved in?
Well, I have a couple of films and I'm trying to get off the ground. But my bread and butter is still television. So, I continue to work in television. I just did a comedy for CBS. But my, sort of my wheelhouse is this sort of action, thriller, mystery, drama. Um, but yeah, I think hopefully this will be the first of many films. And my goal is always to take a big swing. So I think, with a limited budget, we took a really big swing on this one, and I hope to do more of them in the future.
Me too. I think you're in your element, and I was hoping to to talk to you a little bit about science fiction and horror and those genres because growing up as a kid, I think those are the first things that we notice as young men,
Yes.
trying to scare people.
Absolutely, yeah. And like I said, I was fortunate to work on some of those movies, Mummy and Star Wars, and
Yeah,
you know, I'm fortunate to have worked on Star Wars, Star Trek together. Like I don't know too many other directors that have worked on both the major science fiction franchises. Normally, you pick a side,
yeah.
but for me, I just want to get as much experience as possible because there's so much to learn, right? And nobody has all the answers. So I'm always learning. And I learned a lot on this film. I think people will enjoy watching it. And, you will see elements of science fiction in the movie.
You will, and you'll enjoy it. It's a white knuckle ride as well. So, congratulations again on State of Consciousness, and I hope to talk to you on the next one.
Absolutely, Tony. Great to meet with you. I'm happy to talk to you anytime.